All right, guys, welcome to the Investor's Guide to Memphis Real Estate. I'm Dean Harris, your host, as always. I'm with Douglas Skipworth. How are you?
Hey, man, doing great.
We're bringing you this podcast today to give you the boots on the ground experience to become a successful real estate investor here in Memphis. Please like and subscribe to the Investor's Guide of Memphis Real Estate on YouTube. You can check us out on Facebook, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Show sponsors are listed on the screen below. We could not be doing the show without them.
Yeah.
Super grateful for their participation and support in this show. Be sure to call them and use them. Really happy to have them involved. Zoom calls. I paused the Zoom calls. We had some attendance, but not a ton of it. If you guys want those Zoom calls back every Thursday, shoot me an email, dean@crestcore.com. I help buyers and sellers every day here in Memphis. So if you need to sell anything or you're looking to buy any investment property here in the city, dean@crestcore.com. I can help you get started. Have another deal of the week this week.
Oh, nice.
I'm excited to bring you that. 5009 Bringlewood Cove. 38118. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,383 square feet. The list price is $110,000, maybe a little high right now. We've got about $25,000 in rehab, and your ARV is going to be $155,000. This will rent for about $1,300. I believe the 110, we can work on the 110, but 118, fantastic zip code. I'm actually under contract with 2 there now. So I'm looking to expand in 118. 5009 Bringlewood Cove, 38118, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,383 square feet, $110,000. There's about $25,000 in rehab, and then your ARV is going to be $155. Burr all day. Today, we're going to talk about how to work with the Crestcore brokerage. I am getting more and more calls.
Yep.
Thank goodness from you folks listening to the podcast. Yes. I'm getting national calls. We're apparently expanding our reach to this podcast, which is amazing and grateful. And we're so happy to be able to bring this to you guys, especially I got a call last week, new client, Canada.
Awesome.
So really happy to have some international investors take part of this. So I thought today we'd talk about how to work with me and the team.
Okay.
It's not super complicated. I think once we go through it, people will just be like, oh, okay. No big deal. So let's kind of dive into that. I'm going to let you ask some questions. One of the main things that I try to do, and I'll give you a little bit of a philosophy and kind of my thought. And then if you've got questions, that'd be great. But I always have treated other investors exactly how I wanted to be treated.
Okay.
There are zip codes that I could send you guys properties out here in the city that I could sell houses and earn a commission on that you have no business buying. Other reps and other agents and other property sources will sell those properties. They will earn that commission and kind of move on, right? Those 3 areas I've talked about, there's several others, but I mean, the main 3 areas are, some of those zip codes, 114, 106, and 126. It's just areas that I just don't care for. So I've tried to make that a little bit of a philosophy of mine of, I want to treat another investor how I would want someone to treat me. So I don't send out those houses. I only send them out in areas that I would buy if I had the means. If you're a client, you've heard me say that exact sentence, right? Because oftentimes I say, my competition with you, God, no, we're closing 50 houses this month. I can't buy them all.
That's right.
No. So I only send those types of houses out. I keep my nose clean that way. I keep repeat clients come back that way. I don't ever have to have the conversation of, man, you sold me that house. I've had nothing but headache over there. Now, not to say that you can't have a headache property in a good area, but I'm trying to play numbers in. I'm trying to play with history in the city, right? And stay in those areas. So that's one main thing is I treat my other clients that from a property sourcing standpoint, the same way I'd want to be treated. Contractors, all of our show sponsors and vendor partners that we have that I refer to you guys, I personally use.
Right.
Right.
Same.
I'm not using a different set of contractors that are much better than I'm not giving to you guys, right? Like you can ask everybody that we refer and we send over there, does Dean work with you guys? Yeah, the answer is yes. I close at Will Griffin and at Local. I use City Light. I use Nick and the boys over there at Memphis Creed and Lawson. You guys have heard of all of them. So all of the people, Corlin, I've used 25 times. Property management I use. So it's just really like I don't want to call it like a family, but it really is a group. I mean, we don't go outside of the group. And what I mean, the group is all encompassing of property locations, vendor partners, thought process, and who we're around. So we can get into some specifics of exactly how to work, but my philosophy all along has been that simple. It doesn't get any more complicated than that. And I've been able to build relationships and have people come back to the brokerage over and over again because of that philosophy.
Yeah. And I think if you watch a couple of the podcasts, if you go back and look at the zip code episodes, you see what you just said. Yeah. You see you giving your unbiased, maybe biased in the sense of like your experience, opinion on the different parts of town, where to invest, and then what you've seen as you've done it personally and as you've worked with clients, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of deals and offers and inspections over a couple decades.
Yes. Yeah. I had a conversation a couple weeks back, and it's a gaudy number, but I've closed over 3,500 investment properties.
Congratulations.
Yeah. About a 7-year period. So 8-year period.
Yeah, not to mention your previous selling new houses, other stuff.
Forever.
Yeah,
this is just investment deals that I believe we kind of calculated that up to around 3,500. So that doesn't include if I represented both sides. These are actual properties and transactions that we've gone through. And I'm happy to say I don't. Maybe not everyone went great, but I don't end these relationships poorly with clients. That just doesn't happen that way, and I try to take pride in that.
And not to mention that, I'll toot your own horn for a second, that you're having the best year you've ever had.
Yes.
Transaction wise.
Yeah.
Because you're helping a lot of people this year.
Yeah.
So my point is that you wouldn't be getting better if you were getting worse. If you were getting worse. So
I'm trying to stay super consistent. Thank you. And I try to stay super consistent and I don't ever want to, I always made the decision that I'm never going to earn a commission or sell somebody a house that I don't feel 100% good about. They don't all turn out perfect because it is investing. But my point is on the initial front end, I just don't ever sell them.
Yeah. Hey, I was wondering, what are the characteristics of your best clients? The most successful clients? Like when they come in, this is what I see people who do really well.
When I have a conversation with somebody and they have already secured their financing, started an LLC, maybe talk to some lenders or title companies here in town, and they have somewhat of a plan.
Okay.
I don't care if it's the wrong plan. What I like to see in that client is that they've begun to put a plan together. When you come to me and you say, hey, I have no idea what to do, but I want to get involved here, it makes it difficult for me to really narrow it down. Because the first thing I'm going to tell you is you need to educate yourself on the city. You need to line up your financing, and you need to talk to property managers. You need to call Crestcord and find out what's going. How do I work with you when this happens? Those are the best clients. They've already done some research. They're way ahead. They already know the things that they're going to have to set up. We've done the Build Your Team podcast probably 8 times over the years, right? Yeah. When they've listened to that and they've acted on that, those are the best clients.
And I guess the flip side is
when they have no clue whatsoever of anything. Now, if they have, this is kind of the fine line. Like, if you have no clue about anything and you just want to fully trust the process, that's okay.
Okay.
What I don't like is if you don't have any idea about the process and you ask me what's going on, and then I kind of tell you what's going on, and then you kind of don't like that. Like, well, then that sounds like my kids.
Yeah,
sounds like I'm talking to my kids, right? My brother's sister's kids or whatever. Nerve wracking. So my thing is, like, if you've got a plan in place and I'm here to help you execute it, you and I are going to be great.
Yeah.
I can help you create that plan. That's one. Don't get it wrong. Don't feel like you've got to come to me and have exactly what I want to do. I don't care. I'm a chameleon. I'll do whatever you want to do. Let's just have a plan. Like,
gotcha.
Come at me with it's kind of like your nephew coming to you wanting to borrow $5,000 to start a lawn service, and all he did was come to you and say, "Hey, can I have $5,000?" But if he came to you with the pricing of a lawnmower and a trailer,
and some marketing,
he did some research, and he came to you and asked for $5,000, you gonna give him $5,000? Yeah, you're gonna give him $5,000.
And you might say, "Hey, no, you need $10,000," or "Hey, no, I got you here 2.5. We can do this and this and this."
Perfect example.
Yeah, that's
right.
Good. Yeah,
I just and he might have the wrong ideas of the lawn service, right? But at least my little nephew came with a plan, so he's at least thought this out. He's serious about it.
Yeah,
because I can't tell you how many investors come in here. They buy one house and they're like, "Dean, I hate this." I'm like, "Well, you do what?
Mm-hmm.
Sell it for what I bought it for, right?" So we get into that scenario, and it's like, "Hey, if you're bought in and you truly buy into the long-term rental game, and you have a plan in place." Whether it's not the plan we're going to execute, but just a plan, that's the client.
Gotcha. So and I think this was a couple of episodes ago where we said something effective. It was like, hey, you got to answer this question. Like, why am I getting into long-term rentals?
That's it.
I'm getting into long-term rentals because, and then fill out the answer to that question of why you're getting in, or how do you complete that sentence. So if somebody comes to you with that's.
Don't ask me to answer that one. I can't answer that question for you. I do it.
Do people come in without that answer? Or do they come in, they're like, hey, I know I want to get into rentals because I want financial freedom. I want to build wealth. I want some excess cash flow. I want to diversify my portfolio. I need this so that I can do that. Do they all have that, but then they don't have the plan? Or do you have people who are like, rentals sound good?
50-50.
Oh man.
50% say, hey, I want this for passive income later. I had a guy yesterday I talked to who said, my wife wants to retire out of her job. It's $10,000 a month in income. I need to replace that income. I love that.
And I was going to, in this many years and all, and it's like, oh, you can work with that.
Love that.
The more specifics and the better plan and the more reasons, the bigger why, the bigger purpose, the better. The fuzzy.
Hey, I want to get into this. I want how much cash flow? Like, okay, great. That's an important question. But it's like if you're wanting to, it's an immediate gratification, or you're not looking way out into the future, like long-term buy and hold isn't for you. Maybe Airbnbs or maybe something else, fix and flip, something which we do that as well.
Yeah, we can help.
But the long-term, you need to have that why. I love that question. I think that should stick with this. Why? Rephrase that question again. You said, I'm investing in long-term real estate because
why? Well, I'm getting into long-term rentals because, or I'm getting into long-term rentals so that I can do that. I've talked about it myself.
Yeah.
Like I got into long-term rentals. I moved back to Memphis.
Yep.
To work with a startup. It just happened to be a Zillow type real estate technology company with Mr. Stevenson. You know those guys doing AVMs and kind of Zillow stuff. But that was too much for me. It was too much of a horse race. But I wanted to be on the business side. Mm-hmm. And I got introduced to rentals because we were working with residential real estate agents all day, every day, and understood the investment part. And then so I got turned on to rentals, and I was like, oh, rentals can help me get to where I want to go in business.
Yep.
And so I filled that sentence out of like, I got into long-term rentals so that I could have a foundation from which to operate. And that, praise the Lord, that's what happened. It's like, I didn't see it going this way with some of the stuff I'm doing now, but absolutely saw that long-term rentals would be the foundation for that. And they have, and it's awesome.
Years and years ago, I witnessed several older agents over 55 that I was colleagues with.
I know where this is going.
Yeah.
And they had no
plan.
No plan.
And they were 55. A couple of them were 60. I knew them well. Fairly young still, right? That's not old, fairly young. But they were having to get up on Saturday morning and show up in Cordova at 9:30 to show a first-time home buyer a $150,000 house.
They're living paycheck to paycheck, commission to commission, month to month, deal to deal.
They needed that $4,500 in their life. And there's nothing wrong with that. right?
No.
Everyone needs to work and earn money.
Yeah.
Here's my issue with that. I was young at the time, still young. You know. My wife says so, but anyway.
Yeah.
So I was young looking at that agent going, I'm young and I don't want to go there at 9:30 on Saturday morning. I dang sure don't want to have to depend on doing that. I'm a 1099 contractor and always have been. I have no 401k. I have no retirement. I have nothing like that that's offered or given. So I immediately had to start to think, what am I going to do? I didn't know it. When I first saw that, I didn't know it was rentals.
That's right.
Because it happened so early. But as I began to mature in my business, I refused to do that.
Do what you know.
I refuse to do that. I know so many agents out there right now that if they would watch this and begin to set themselves up, they can stop doing this long before they want to, right? Or after they want to.
Or they have to, yeah. So, but
long before they've got, yes. So that's how I started and why. And now it's dwarfed into.
But you knew why. And so when you have clients who come with the why and reasons and here's why, they can answer that sentence. Wow, those are the success. And that's what we're trying to do is like, hey, if you want to be successful and you're trying to just get into this, think through these questions, have these answers so that when you come to Dean, you can do it.
Yeah.
You can hit the ground and you can make them successful. Because it's all about making them successful. This isn't about making you successful.
No. We're working, I'm a tour guide. Go ahead.
I was like, I always describe it as like, I think like, man, you know how when people climb Mount Everest, they hire like the Sherpas to kind of guide them and do all the grunt work, like set up camp and carry all the equipment and stuff. I'm like, that's what we do for real estate investors. You know, I'm like, every day you're helping people buy and sell property so they can get to the top of their investing mountain.
Yes.
So, and then
we're not the know-all be-all. I'm never pretended to be the know-all be-all, but I do pretend to know exactly how I'm investing and how it works, and we share it on here. And I share it in the brokerage. You guys have met Monica and Julius. If you're working with them, they have the same philosophy where none of us are taking the stance of it's this way or the highway. So don't get it. I want to make sure that I get that. The plan that you come to me with doesn't have to be accurate. I don't necessarily care about that part of it. It's your thought process and your demeanor and your attitude towards what we're doing that is most important.
And it doesn't have to be your plan.
No, God, I don't care what we're doing.
Or does everybody have the same plan?
No. I've got some people that are like, hey, I want my 10 Fannie Mae Freddie Macs on 30-year loans. Let's get them out there. I'll refinance it when it gets lower or whatever. That's not my plan. Okay. Right. I got some investors that want multifamily. We talked about that on the last podcast, right? I've just had a call before we came in here to do this podcast about a 20-unit property on Poplar Avenue. It's like, I'm here to tell you that different plans are fine. Doesn't matter to me one bit. It's let's have a plan and a reason and the why. That's what I love about it.
More important than having all the details worked out.
Yeah, because we can hammer those out as we're learning, right? That's what I kind of tell people. Like, one of the questions I get oftentimes is, how do I start? Like, what do you like? Be specific.
Yeah. Be specific.
How do you start? I tell every buyer every single time, if you come in and you say, hey, I don't know how to start easy. Start simple. Let's don't take many risks. What I mean by that is a higher end property that isn't going to get you a lot of cash flow or money. You're not going to retire on it, but you're going to learn everybody. You're going to learn me. You're going to learn property management. You're going to learn your title company and the general contractors. And you're just going to get a feel for Memphis. You're going to be talking more Memphis, researching more Memphis. And that's what you want to do if you're going to be a long time buy and hold here. Don't you feel like you and I have got our thumb on just about everything in this city?
Yes.
Right. And that's how you should be if you plan to build a portfolio here.
And part of it is that we want to use this podcast to do that. And so, send that out. If your clients, hey, this is what we owe you in the sense of we want you to have this information so you can stay informed.
I have never this is 2013 or 23. I have in 8 years of doing this, I've never one time asked for money. I've never sold anything on here. Part of my little spiel that I give buyers is like, I tell them about the podcast and I'm like, hey, I'm not selling t-shirts or hats on there. This is an informational podcast.
Yes.
I don't have any, the financial gain is when you guys call and buy houses from us. This is really set up to get out all the information I can.
Yes.
To all of our investors.
And you just said that like, you don't make money. You don't earn a commission unless you get what you want.
100%.
So
yeah, it's like never,
if you're selling, Dean doesn't get paid until the property sells.
100%.
If you're buying, Dean doesn't get paid until you get the property that you want.
I get this question. Am I too small for you? Am I too small of an investor? Do you have time to, do you have time to spend with me? Yeah, that's what we do here. That's
right.
That's what we do. I mean, that's why I provide all this education and all this information. Am I going to hang out on the phone with you for 4 hours a day? No. But am I going to provide all of the data and all of the information and processes that it takes to be successful here?
Yes. You're going to put all of your resource behind you. So no matter where you are starting or how far you get, you will always help them.
I get a question. Yes, I get a question. Yeah. I get this one too, and then we'll kind of wrap this up.
Okay.
You know, I don't like these podcasts.
No, I mean, I think it's helpful for people to hear and understand.
Yeah, I get the question a lot of how, when we make an offer, how does that work? I won't go through the entire thing detail by detail here, but a simple outline or a highlight of how that process works. We make an offer in our market. These houses that are desirable still sell quick.
Yes.
Most of them right now are vacant that are on the market that I have listed. There's some others that are occupied. We handle it a little bit different, but we make that offer. We do it right away. We assume some rehab, 25 grand, whatever I was telling you kind of in the deal of the week. We get it under contract. We're going to send our GC out there to verify that process. For $200, they'll give you 150 pictures of video and a line itemized rehab bid. Okay. If you hire them to do the job, they're going to give you that $200 back.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So it's, just cover their time.
Yep.
You're going to then decide with you and I as the investor if we're going to keep the property. We know how much the rehab is. We know all the taxes. We know everything at that point. Decide if we keep it. Monica and the team are going to take you to close. They'll get you integrated with property management. They're literally going to handle every step, every way through. Okay. Mm-hmm. My entire business is set up for the out-of-state investor. I don't have any in the city investors. I have 4, I think.
Yeah.
Right. The whole business is just set up for out-of-state investors. It's just my client base. Okay. So everything that we do, the title company, they send you a mobile notary and they close. Property management is used to working with people all over the world.
All over the world.
So it's all done digitally. So I guess just to kind of summarize that is everything that we do and say and think and every process that's set up in that brokerage is set up for the out-of-state investor. The information that I give you and I talk about only comes from me being an investor. I don't talk about 100-unit multifamily properties on here.
Yeah.
No. You know why?
Me either.
Because I don't have any 100 multifamily. I just don't understand it necessarily in the grid of it, how that works well enough to come on here and tell you how to do it. Right.
I'm the same way.
But
so I like to talk about what I know.
What I know.
And that's all. And you and I like to talk about what we know and share that. And oftentimes we're here sharing our conversation with you. That's what we're doing.
We literally repeat what we talk about before we come on.
Yes. Yeah.
We have a meeting about this and we sit here and we talk about our topic and we literally come on here and repeat it.
Yeah.
So I don't have anything else to really add about the brokerage and how to work with this. If you have further questions after that, Dean@crestcore.com. I'll set up a call with you. I can answer any questions on there. This podcast again is another way to probably answer some of those questions before you come to me. So take a look, go through the list and see some of the topics. We save everything on there. But maybe before you call, see if there's some questions that you can answer on your own. That'll be awesome. And then set up a time we can talk and see if you're a good fit and go from there.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, it's like if you want to learn more, kind of subscribe to the podcast. If you're ready to act, call Dean, email Dean.
Appreciate you. Thanks for your time. We'll see you next week.